How do you feel that you are practicing Hinduism in Orissa and you don't have permission to visit the temple of Puri or see it being blasphemed? How do you feel if suddenly Kali Ghat and Dakshineshwar ceases to be a place in Kolkata? With targeted killings again happening in Kashmir, from bank officers to teachers, it has become increasingly difficult for Kashmiri Hindus to maintain their existence in the valley. With the crackdown on separatists, the recent sentencing of Yasin Malik, and the centre's move to restore land of Kashmiri Pandits, there is pressure on terrorists to make their presence felt in the form of fear. An officer quotes from India Today. And what's the result of this fear? Targeted killings, attacks on innocents, and armies alike. Another round of ethnic cleansing, which you won't hear being debated in the Al Jazeera and TRT news channel. By the way, I am not going to share with you today the endless sorrows and agonizing pains of millions of Kashmiri Hindus, which will gain nothing but sympathy. What we would rather look at today is what we as a cultural nation have lost in the last few decades. What has already been cleansed from the face of earth. Martand Bhairav Temple, a temple dedicated to Surya and other deities, built in the 8th century AD, an excellent specimen of Kashmiri architecture which had blended the Gandharan, Gupta and Chinese forms of architecture, depicting the rich culture of Orient. The temple, which belonged to the people of this country, created thousands of years ago, even before the birth of Abrahamic religion, poses a threat to minority interest. This temple is not the only one. There are millions of such incidents in the Indian subcontinent, thousands being in the state of Kashmir alone. Check the list of temples destroyed in the recent decades. No wonder why the media houses would not quote such. And what has Martand Bhairav Temple become today? Haider, a film of recent days, referred to it as Shaitan Ka Gufa. Kashmir, which has been the seat of Indian philosophical systems with ancient traditional systems of debating happening even till the late 18th century, suddenly vanished from India. Kashmiri Shaivism, Abhinavagupta now are just theories. The lineage of Kashmiri scholars is lost. Every place in India is associated with a presiding god or a goddess. Like you have heard terms like Kali Kalkatte Wali, which means Kali of Kolkata, Jagannath Kshetra, Jagannath of Puri, Kanchi Kamakshi, goddess Kamakshi of Kanchipuram. Similarly, the god of goddess Sharada, a form of Saraswati, is lost within Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The temple destroyed by the majoritarians. After the mass migration of Kashmiri Hindus from POK, the temple was completely cut off from the devotees and gradually started falling into disrepair. Ancient poems of Kalhana's Rajatarangini mentions Kashmir as Sharada Desham, the country of Sharada. How do you feel that you are practicing Hinduism in Orissa and you don't have permission to visit the temple of Puri or see it being blasphemed? How do you feel if suddenly Kali Ghat and Dakshineshwar ceases to be a place in Kolkata? How do you feel about celebrating Vasant Panchami with the goddess of knowledge uprooted from her hometown for decades? The enormous loss of losing the temple of Devi Sharda needs to be foreseen, especially since it has been almost 70 years since the temple was devastated and abandoned. Our temple is our heritage, our shared history, and our connection to our identity. The goddess of Kashmir is now taking puja far apart in southern India in Sringeri. Her abode is lost, much like her devotees who were either massacred or had to flee. Why am I telling you all this? Our gods are not just living deities. They are not just legends. The temples sustain our communities. It does not become a museum or relics. A whole lot of you must be wondering, about Abhinavagupta, Kashmir Shaivism, Goddess Sharda. What are all these? Subscribe to this channel if you want to know more about the lost traditions of India, its deep heritage, culture and traditions.